Hi Hannah, I just wanted to show you examples of how you can punch out the black and white a little bit better. I'm in develop mode of Lightroom. I'd show the whole screen, but sometimes the screen capture gets overloaded and kind of freaks out on me. So that's why you're only seeing a partial screen. But yeah, develop mode, and I just brought in this image because it's a low contrast image, just to show you some of the options that you do have when you come in using this mode. So right now I'm just in the basic. I'm trying to think of the words. I usually teach how to use Camera Raw. I can use both Lightroom and Camera Raw. In fact, they're almost identical. They're just everything's in different places. But in Camera Raw we call this the basic tab or basic panel. So this is where I'm starting from. You can correct anything in here that you wish. If I want to add a little bit of contrast to the image, if I want to pull back the highlights, notice how well the sky comes in. Incidentally, I never adjust exposure if the exposure is accurate. It's something that does really bug me, is that people are taught to lighten and darken an image using exposure, but your photos look exposed correctly. That has nothing to do with the contrast of them. So highlights and shadows can open up some of the information in the image that you wouldn't normally have. So I'm now going to scroll down here. Now there's a couple of ways of converting to black and white. One is to just hit black and white, which is the easiest. Other students I've known have said that you just set your saturation to 0, which will desaturate all your colors to black and white, and then you can adjust luminance and hue on the color spectrum. But I'm going to go the easy route because I don't know what experience you're coming in with Lightroom. So here's black and white conversion. So as you can see, it is what you'd expect. It's slightly flat even with the adjustments I made under the basic tone. But what it allows me to do is pull in areas of color. So I know that before I converted to black and white, and sorry, let me go and open that again. So if I bring it back into color, these are going to be largely oranges and yellows. There's blue in the sky and aqua or blue in the water. So I can adjust along the color range. So let's say I want to adjust the blue in the sky. And you can see I'm already able to bring in more cloud definition by doing that. I'm not quite sure whether the land is orange. Okay, it's orange. I can see it now. So I can adjust that. I'm guessing the water is aqua. Not terribly aqua. I just want to see if the blue changes the water. So then I'm guessing it's green. So yeah, there you can see the changes with the green. I'm noticing that it's starting to block up the shadows and the bush lines, so I'm not going to adjust too much because we have other ways that we can adjust with this too. So here I've already got a small amount of contrast that I've brought into this. So this is the before and after view, and you can see I'm getting a lot of definition in the blues of the sky now. The land I've kept fairly mid-tone. This is where I opened out the shadows a little bit. So there's ways that you can start to work with this, but the really important tools for me are the adjustment tools. So if you've never used them before, they'll be a revelation to you. So the first one is the graduated filter. The graduated filter will give you the same kind of things that you would see normally under the basic filter, but they allow me to do it by clicking and dragging and setting a gradient along here. You know, I can move that gradient, I can increase the depth of it, and move the position of it. So this will allow me now to adjust the exposure, and you can see that if I adjust it a lot, it's going to look really bad. It'll look like you have a gradient adjustment on here. But if you just adjust it a little bit, it's a little bit like shooting with a polarizing filter, so it's just bringing in a little bit of deeper tonality in the sky. Okay, so the next tool that we have is the sorry, I'm on the wrong one. It's the adjustments brush. So this does something that's very similar. What it will allow me to do, and incidentally, adjustment brush, graduated filter, radial filter, these are all available in Camera Raw as well. Once you start working with Photoshop and Foundations too, you'll be working more with Camera Raw than you will be with Lightroom, and you should know both. So remember these settings, and they're going to look a little bit different. A lot of students have a hard time transitioning from Lightroom to Photoshop Camera Raw, or it's called Adobe Camera Raw. But it's a really important program to know, especially in terms of you going out and getting a job. So you need to know both. So here I can actually paint in exposures. So if I wanted to lighten up on this tree line, now this is obviously going a little bit light, so that doesn't matter because I can adjust it after. I'm doing a sloppy job of this, as you can see. I could lighten up the houseboats, but I'm going to bring it down. You know, I've gone one stop over on the exposure. I really don't want to do that. Let's take it to 2/3 of a stop. So I'm just going to come along here. And there's actually noticing the things that Camera Raw will do that this won't, which makes the masking so much easier in Camera Raw. But I'll just change my brush size now. I've got the outline in. So again, just lightening this up. So to clean up the edges of the adjustment brush, you need to scroll down and choose Erase, and then I can just come in and remove it where I overpainted it earlier, where I didn't really want it to go, and just clean up those edges. There is a little bit of a white line around the edge of the water anyway. I'm doing this at a very small scale. I'd normally be zoomed up on this far more and probably work in full screen to do some of these, but because of the screen capture, I'm working in a fairly low resolution screen. So these are your brush settings down the bottom, so you can change your brushes. I use a lot of keyboard commands, so square bracket left will make the brush smaller, that's left, and square bracket right, sorry, I was on completely the wrong one then. Square bracket right will make the brush bigger. So square bracket right is this, and remember I'm still on the erase brush. So I could also create a new adjustment. So this little pinpoint here is the first adjustment. Now I'm going to say I want a new one, and so I can start painting anywhere. It automatically goes to the plus brush, which means I'm adding to the adjustment, And I might just make the water a bit lighter. Again, just for the length of the screen recording, I'm going to do it quite quickly, so it's not going to be perfect. I would obviously spend a lot more time on this if it was my own image. And I'm going to go over the boats once again and just slide in around the edge of the land. I should really make my brush a bit smaller there. Just make sure that I get everything in. But I don't want to go this pale anyway on the water. But what this gives me the option to do is to kind of get a sense of what sort of lightness or darkness that I want on the water. So I'm pulling out different parts of the image. So one of the things that I need to do is just erase this big bit that I put on there, and then I'm going to go back up and adjust these settings. So the exposure setting is what's making the water really dark. And I should point out one other thing to you, that there is a option to add color, which you don't need to do, but there's the color setting. You won't be able to use it for black and white, but if you're using it on color images, then it's there. Now this little button down here, the toggle switch, this will show when I click on it, this is the after, this is the before. I don't want the water that dark, so I'm going to close it down a little bit. I'm going to see what the highlights do, because there were highlights on the water. I'm going to turn those down a little bit. I'm going to increase the clarity a little bit. So now when I come down, toggle it on and off, you can see what adjustments those have made. So I often use the adjustment brushes, the radial adjustment, as well as the graduated filter to get the effects that I want on my images. And this would just allow you a little bit more control on your black and white images by adjusting some of these things under develop mode. So the ones that you are looking at, this is the graduated filter, this one is the radial filter, and this one is the adjustment brush. And I just want to step back a little bit in history. I saved this at a couple of points. So this was the original black and white image. This was after the graduated adjustment, and this is what the final image looked like. So you can see that you can make a huge difference between looking at these. And this is actually what the other thing I wanted to show you was this show selective mask overlay. The red shows me anywhere that I've missed out of the mask. It'll show me what a bad job I did of masking because I was doing it in a hurry. You can paint in this mode, so as long as you're in your add brush, you can come in and add color, take it out, and so you just make sure that you're adding in on the mask in all the areas that needs it. And likewise, you can go into the erase brush. And I'm going to make that smaller. Again, I'm just using the square brackets to make it smaller, and I can erase this from here. So when in doubt, if you're not sure what your mask actually is looking like, but you have the feeling that it wasn't as accurate as it should have been, you can show the mask on and off. And so there's the finished image with all the drama that you'd want. I'm just going to add another snapshot on here. Just call it final. So this was the black and white conversion where I'd already done the basic adjustments in color, and then that's the final. So you can see what a major difference using the selective adjustments like the graduated filter. I didn't use the radial filter because I didn't need to, but you can almost reverse and make focal points in your images. You can bring out flat skies, and you can do it all within Lightroom. So I'm hoping that this will be helpful to you.